It's finally here, our first half-term break. Now, if you're in year 10 or year 11, this time is probably coming as a relief, a bit of a rest from those early mornings in school, your teachers being on your back, you having to do English, maths, science, going to all these subjects, going to class, having to worry about making sure you've got your homework, all of that stuff. All the pressure is now easing off. However, if you're in year 10 and year 11, there'll be a little bit of a challenge here with half term, because not only do you want to make sure you are feeling rested and relaxed, you're catching up on all the stuff you want to do, on hanging out with your friends and so on, but of course, you also have mocks as kind of this devil on your shoulder, right? So lots of you guys and lots of schools will probably be having mocks after half term break. Often schools tend to have mocks in November, and if you're lucky, in December. So of course, also the challenge that you have over half-term break is making sure you're getting enough rest, but also ensuring that you're still somehow getting ready and putting in a few hours in order to go back into school and be ready for those mocks. And of course, if you're in year 11 especially, mock exams are really important because they form your predicted grades, which are used if you decide to go on to sixth form, go on to college, and you've got specific A-levels that you want to study. These predicted grades are super important in securing your place in your chosen sixth form, in your chosen A-level, and so on. So of course, also the added importance, especially with your mocks, if you're in year 11, is making sure you get good enough grades so that you have decent predicted grades, right? So what I want to do is to show you how to ensure this half-term break not only gives you enough rest and more importantly, enough guilt-free rest where you can do whatever you want, but also you have a really important balance as well of practice, of revision, so that you don't only rest and have this huge backlog of work that you have to get back to, get on top of when you go back to school in November. So I'm going to show you the best way to structure and study your half-term break in a way that's not too overwhelming, in a way that you feel like, number one, you've gotten enough rest, but more importantly, number two, you've still made some real active progress towards ensuring that you're ready for your mocks. Now, I'm going to begin firstly by talking about the 3 common errors I always see students making every single year in October half term. And of course, I'm then going to show you the solution, okay? How to structure your half term, not only for making sure that you're getting, enough revision and practice and prep for English, but also across all your other subjects, okay? So I'm going to begin by talking about some of the errors that I tend to see students make every single half term during this period. And that means that when they go back to school, they're still feeling really stressed, overwhelmed, and they don't end up doing very well in the mocks. Number one, most students, when entering their October half term, they decide, you know what, gonna completely rest, gonna hang out with friends, gonna lie in, play all the games I want, scroll as much as I want to do on social media. They spend 100% of the time resting and they do no revision. But of course, what happens for many of these students is they go back to school with this huge backlog of work in November, which then continues to snowball. And then it snowballs some more. And then by the time Easter hits next year, they are completely overwhelmed and they're like, do you know what? Now I'm gonna start having to make really massive sacrifices. Which subjects can I not study? Which subject do I need to put enough hours into? I've wasted all of this time. I've squandered all of this time. I am completely behind, right? It starts snowballing, and it usually begins because students waste valuable time and they don't take advantage of these windows of time where they can catch up on work. But on the flip side, okay, and this is another thing that I don't encourage students to do during October half term, is there's obviously also a lot of driven students. If you're actually watching this video, you're probably amongst one of them, right? You have a clear idea of how well you want to do in class, how well you want to do in your subjects, because you know exactly what you want for your future. You know, okay, if I do really well, I'm going to get into this A-level, which means I'm going to be able to go into this university and secure this job. You have such a clear target. You know exactly what you want. And of course, what that means is you decide, you know what, what I want means I'm gonna have to put a lot of effort and energy, and then you end up spending 100% of your half-term break revising and only revising. And what that leads to, and this is why it's a mistake, and I don't also recommend this, is it leads to burnout, stress, and no rest. You go back into school, of course you have revised, but you're feeling tired, you're feeling burnt out, you are feeling like you've not really had very much rest. And the third issue that I tend to see a lot of students make during this half-term break is those who maybe are not as driven and as ambitious, you know, but they also don't want to completely squander this time over half-term. And they're like, do you know what? I'm going to revise when I think about it. You know, I'm going to pick up what I can, but also I'm going to go and hang out with my friends. I'm also going to rest. I'm going to sleep, you know, and they have no structure, right? And so this is another group of students, right? So they want to do a little bit of revision. And what they tend to do is random haphazard revision. They'll do the fun stuff when they remember to revise during half term. Oh, okay, let me just do this really cute mind map. Right, I'm done. Or they'll focus on the subjects that they love and then do revision for that and completely forget about the stuff that they hate. And what that obviously leads to is, firstly, by the time half term is over, they don't know their progress, they can't track it. But also, more importantly, they also are still finding themselves in the same camp as these guys who have this huge backlog of work, especially in the subjects that they did not touch over half term. Now, in terms of how to ensure your half term is a really nice balance between rest and, more importantly, guilt-free rest, but also practice, study, and making sure that by the time you go back into school, you not only feel really rested, but also you've caught yourself up on the topics you're going to be having your mocks on. I want to show you the best study plan and the best approach that does both and balances both equally. And I literally always recommend this to my students. In fact, over half term, I'd like to suggest you start with 1 hour of revision and you only revise in 1 hour slots of time, 1 hour window of time. In other words, I'm going to give you a really specific structure you can use. And also what I've done is I've actually created a study timetable, a half-term timetable, just in case you want to use it, just in case you kind of want to plot exactly how to balance out, you know, your English revision, your maths revision, science, all your other subjects. I've literally created a half-term study plan, which is only from Monday to Friday, okay? Meaning you also are going to have Saturday and Sunday off to do exactly what you want. But if you want to have that timetable, it's completely free. I've literally put it on Substack, which you can download from there, okay? However, let me show you exactly how to use this study plan and to also ensure you weave in lots and lots of rest. In fact, what you're gonna see in this plan is the suggestion I always make is just study in 1 hour blocks of time, and that's it over half-term break. In other words, this is what your routine would look like just Monday to Friday, because Saturday and Sunday is completely off, okay? So firstly, you're gonna start your day at 10 in the morning. Completely guilt-free. Don't start at 7, don't start at 8, don't even start at 9 o'clock. Make sure you have a lie-in. If you're an early bird, well, do whatever you want. If you like reading, if you like going for a run, if you like even just doom scrolling on social media, you can do exactly what you want until 10 a.m. Make sure you're getting in that rest. But then from 10 to 11, that is going to be your first window of study time. This is when you literally ensure that within that window of time, you pick your weakest subject. And usually I always suggest with all of my students, start with your hardest topic and the topic that you least like earlier on in the beginning of the day, because you have more energy to tackle that. Don't wait until later on in the day when you're kind of a little bit more distracted, your willpower is a little bit lower. Get out the way really early on. And of course, if you're watching this channel, maybe English isn't your favorite subject, nor is it your strongest subject, so you start with that, but just for the hour, okay? So from 10 to 11, you study. Then from 11 to 11:30, that's going to be your first window of rest. This is 30 minutes. Do whatever you want. Again, if you want to doom scroll, if you want to play games, whatever it is, during that window of time, rest, do your thing, and then have your second 1 hour block of study between 11:30 to 12:30, okay? So again, tackle a different topic. If you've done English to begin with, then maybe you do maths, you do science, whatever, but you focus on that for 1 hour, okay? And of course, during these windows of time, you're putting your phone somewhere or you're silencing it, you're not checking anything else, you're still focusing for that hour. Then between 12:30 and 2 p.m. So this is 1.5 hours. You completely rest again. Eat your lunch, do whatever you want, do your thing. And of course, during all of these rest breaks, these are guilt-free breaks. Do exactly what you want. If you just want to doom scroll, if whatever you want, you do that during these rest breaks. The most important thing is to ensure that you're also enjoying yourself. You're also having a great time. If you want to chat to your friend on your phone or your friend's over, you want to hang out, you do that, okay? Then after your 1.5 hour lunch break from 2 to 3 p.m, another block of study time, then rest once more. So now you'll see during this schedule, your rest periods and your windows of rest get larger and larger as the time is going, because obviously your willpower is going down and down and down. You need to obviously be able to have enough stamina as the day is going on. So this is the second window of time off, and now this is 2 hours, okay? So for example, if you want to go and hang out with some friends, you go off for 2 hours, do your thing. Or you want to read, whatever it is, you've got 2 hours between 3 to 5 p.m. And then I would suggest you then have a final window of time at the end of the day at 5 to 6 p.m, revising once more. And pro tip, for those of you that obviously struggle with English, especially English literature, your set text, at that time during half term, I will be running a literature GCSE masterclass. So this is from 5 to 6 p.m. And this obviously counts as revision. I'm going to be going over not only the key quotes for the set text, so I'm going to be starting with Macbeth on the 27th of October, Christmas Carol, Power and Conflict, Unseen Poetry, Inspector Calls, but also obviously during that lesson, which is a live lesson, you can obviously ask me as many questions as you want. And I'll be going over a grade 9 model answer that you can use to revise, not only for your upcoming mocks, but of course, I'll also be sharing a 3-page cheat sheet that you can use not only for these mocks, but for your final GCSE exam. So of course, if you decide, okay, do you know what? I really hate English. I'm not going to even focus on it in the morning. You then just literally focus on English with me during that masterclass. And then afterwards, that's it. You're done. From 6 p.m. onwards, you are absolutely done for the day. You're done for the evening. You can totally rest. And of course, if it's on Friday the 31st, you can go trick-or-treating. If you're big on Halloween, do whatever you want. But as you can see here, the big focus that I've suggested is spending at least hour blocks of time revising, but also making sure you are balancing that off with sufficient breaks. And if you actually count how many hours of break you have, it's about 4 hours during that day. And obviously you have also 4-hour blocks of time for revision. And then the rest time then comes in from 6 p.m. And this is only from Monday to Friday, because you also still need to make sure you're resting on Saturday and Sunday. So as I said, I've created this as a free downloadable. If you want this timetable, if you want to have some really good structure in your days, and I've not only added specific blocks of time relating to this plan, but also you can also plot exactly what subjects you want to focus on. Simply download it. It's on Substack for free. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found this helpful.